This afternoon we are doing Youth Voice, and we are Newcastle Youth Council, fully branded for you, and we're running the session this afternoon. Like all the sessions, we're going to start with a bit of a icebreaker, whatever you call it.
Introduce ourselves.
We're going to introduce ourselves now. I'm David.
I'm Molly.
I'm Julia.
And I'm Jessica.
It's a little bit of a tradition on the Youth Council. You might have, I'll talk about it a bit more later, but does anybody here know the Macarena?
Oh, no.
Also during the presentations. Yeah, keep dancing during the presentations. Okay.
I think I can't forget the platform.
I keep forgetting which bit I'm up to.
What's happening this afternoon is, as I've already said, we're all coming together to talk about Youth Voice in our various countries. We are the Youth Council, and we're going to give a short presentation on what we do as an organisation, and then I think we're going to go around the countries, and they're all going to give it, apart from Japan, which is fine, they're going to give a presentation on Youth Voice in their country. I'll just say that for us in Newcastle, probably one of the biggest ways of expressing our youth voice is through the Youth Council. There are other ways, but this is probably the most democratic where there is, so that's why we think it's important.
Yes.
Yes. So just.
Okay, so as I said, we are the Youth Council. We're made up of 30 elected members, and we're elected from the north, the east, the west and the centre of the city. And 4 spaces are reserved for Youth Parliament members, which is a national scheme and gets our voice heard on a national level.
I'll just tell you a little bit about the history of the Youth Council. Not that it's very long, we've only been around for a couple of years. In July 2010 we were elected with 8,000 votes across the city. It was by the internet and in schools, and I think that was and in the library, like public ballot boxes. We were the first ever youth council in Newcastle, so we had a lot of starting work to do. A lot of this was done in our October residential in 2010, where we drew up our own constitution and formed a structure of sort of roles and committees and that kind of thing. We bonded as a council together. It's very important. We also did work in that sort of period between July and May in sort of creating our website, which we had up before, and we'll show you in a bit. Which is a crucial way that we sort of try and get our name out there to the young people in Newcastle, because we are so new. So after the website was launched, we had our formal launch to sort of local dignitaries and other people on May 2011. Independent, which is the last point there, just a really important thing about our youth council is that we are completely independent of the city council. At the moment, we are funded by them, but we are run. But they commission a charity to help us run ourselves. In 2015, hopefully, we should be completely independent with a board of trustees helping us to govern ourselves. But it will be entirely run by young people. It's just at the moment we're finding our feet, so we're getting a bit of help. Next slide, please. I think this is yours.
Right, so our priorities. When we first set up, each member had to write what they thought were their 3 main priorities, what they thought were the 3 things that we needed to work on as a council. And then we kind of put them all together, and as a whole body we decided which 3 we thought were most kind of in need of some input. So we got cheaper public transport for under 18s, because the bus tickets in Newcastle, well, we think they're quite expensive, so, and as students you don't really have a lot of money. Promoting a positive youth image, which like the workshop this morning, and like, because we felt that we were being a bit discriminated against, and improve opportunities and expand young people's access to them. So basically, make more to do, but also make young people more aware of what is already available to do in our city. So,
obviously, as a youth council, it's really important that we manage to represent everyone's views so that we know what we're working towards is actually what people want us to do. So one of the most important things we do is communicate with young people across the city. And we do this through surveys. Last year we held a large survey which we conducted in the city centre. Mainly, well, there was a range of topics, but mainly about transport. The results of the survey were posted on the website afterwards. And we found from that young people mainly wanted cheaper transport, particularly to school, and easier, less complex bus routes. So we were able to work towards this. We also, of course, we have a website, which is one of the main communication tools, but we also have a Twitter feed and a Facebook page. And we recently published our first edition of the Youth Council newsletter. And we are able to, well, we're hoping to communicate more with school councils so that we can work together more across the city to make things better.
We were very conscious that once we were elected, we didn't then sort of disconnect ourselves from young people. We wanted to keep an ongoing dialogue. I mean, I know we are ourselves young people, but we also wanted to have a larger voice than just ourselves that we could voice to decision makers that could sort of give us a stronger backing. This is me. As I've just said, how we go about getting things done. We talk to the council in this building. We have a regular monthly meeting with a senior member of Children's Services here, which deals from everything up to the point you're 18, which is the bit that the Youth Council here covers from 11 to 18. So that's a very important meeting for us. We find out what they're doing, so there can be some cooperation. We're not covering ground they've already done, but we can also find things that are other organisations, such as victim support. We've been and talked to organisations that really can focus on young people and see what we can sort of how we can find common ground and work with them. Nexus, because transport is such a crucial priority for us. We've got a whole committee devoted to it. We have been talking with Nexus. We've had a meeting with the head of Nexus, and there's regular meetings with something called the Youth Transport Authority, which we'll come on to a little bit later. So we have these regular meetings and meeting with people, but we also focus on specific campaigns, like cycle lanes was one we worked on with the Elders Council, which again we'll talk about a little bit later, where young people and old people work together on a common aim, which was to stop people parking in cycle lanes so that they were not working correctly. Metro prices, that's been another focused campaign we've done. Skills for Life is something that we're doing in schools to try and I don't know if you have it in your it's like PSHE, like development studies, how that can be more a practical thing, so like teaching you skills for adult life, like finance, and just more helpful things in the current system, which isn't as helpful as we think. We've also been working on youth poverty with our parent charity, which is Children North East, which is a really important bit of work for us.
Okay, so other work that we've been doing sort of links back to how we represent young people in the city. We had a group of 2 possibly youth councillors elected onto the Northumbria Police Authority, and they were given a lump of money, and they had to help with other young people, divide it between community groups to help reduce crime in their areas. The Youth Transport Authority, that one I get
already mentioned, that was the one that it's a organisation around the region, because Nexus, our transport system is regional beyond just Newcastle. It goes to Tynemouth and various places, so it's a regional meeting with other young people from youth councils near us who share the same metro, so that we can get an agreement to try and find cheaper transport and other issues that affect young people.
There's Newcastles of the World, which obviously that's here today. You all know what that is. We've been involved over the last few months helping to prepare the youth side of it, prepare these sorts of sessions and the welcoming event. And we've had intergenerational work, working with the Elders Council. That's how we got work on the cycle lanes and issues like that. And then on a lighter note, we've opened Asda. This is David here, opening an Asda in Newcastle.
Which is a local supermarket for us. Next slide.
Obviously, we've talked about some of our successes already, but mainly we feel that the biggest success we've had is building a really solid foundation for the next generation of Newcastle Youth Council to be elected this October. The cycle lane campaign we feel was quite successful. Less parking in cycle lanes, so more people could use them, and obviously that's an important way of getting across the city. It's cheap and it's green. We worked with Nexus to demonstrate the views of young people about metro prices, so we've reduced the metro prices for 16 to 18-year-olds. We're going to keep working on this because we don't feel that they're cheap enough. And also, we have a better reputation than we did before, because obviously we basically started from nothing and built it up ourselves, and now we work with really high members of the council and really represent the views of young people.
Yeah, we're being more used now, which was one of the ideas originally, as sort of a body which people can come and ask to consult about the opinion of young people in Newcastle. So members of the council especially, but also other organisations are now coming to talk to us to what we think, which is, I think we've got ourselves in a really good position to move on next year to have some even greater change.
Challenges. Right. So we set up a youth council, and we're the first people on it, and we've basically set it up ourselves. So we'd be kind of lying if we told you it was easy, because it wasn't. There was problems because 30 youth councillors were elected, and because it was the first year, it wasn't completely understood how committed you had to be. So there were problems with commitment initially, but that's mostly been sorted out now. Deadlines, yes.
Deadlines. For something like, like for example, Councillor David Faulkner came up to us and asked us to do Newcastles of the World, organise the youth side of Newcastles of the World, and I suppose we didn't quite realise how big the piece of work was when we said yes. So it's just things like that we need to sort of learn from learn that things take a lot of work. And,
also the website, we set it up initially, we'd given ourselves a deadline for earlier than what we finished it, and then we kind of had to keep changing the deadline, which meant we had to keep changing the launch party. But yeah, and then being taken seriously, because obviously in Newcastle we're the first youth council, so there's never been like our council, it's never really been faced by young people who are serious about wanting something, and so they initially kind of didn't take us quite as seriously as we would have hoped, like everyone, not just the council. But
it's a case of sort of people hadn't heard of us really, and so, but hopefully now we have got a better name for a good name for ourselves, and we'll go on to.
They were the only really 3 major problems that we
had. Just for the future, what we think we're going to work on. As we've already mentioned, fresh elections are happening this year, so we'll get a new intake of youth councillors hopefully, and an even larger voting, even larger percentage of young people in the city voting. We're going to plan working more with local organisations like the council, other separate organisations, maybe have contacts internationally with other Newcastles maybe to sort of share things. And as I've already said, by 2015 we hope to have complete independence so that we are operating outside of the council entirely. And I think that's our presentation done. If anybody's got any questions before we move on to the next one, we'd be happy to answer them.
How often do you you started in 2010, right?
Yeah.
The elections, how often do you do them? After how long
okay.
you're planning to do them?
They are going to be held once every 2 years, but our term was a little bit longer because we needed to get things sorted out.
Okay.
So it will be once every 2 years. Or, yeah, it's up for discussion, but the idea at the moment is once every 2 years. Hello.
So our councillors like committed to them 2 years? Like
well, that's a good question, because often I'm sure you know what you're asking, but I'll just if you sign up for 1 year and then need to go away to university or whatever, I think that we can allow you in and then get replacement for you if you need to leave in the second year. But because we still need a full representation.
When the elections are, there's the certain number of spaces for each area, but then there's reserves in that area. So if one person in that area needed to go away to university, the first reserve would take their place. So it would still be people who were elected in.
But these are things we need to think about over the coming elections.
It's like in the normal elections.
Yeah, exactly. Although the elections are quite expensive, so unlike maybe the Parliament, we wouldn't have a by-election or anything like that. Any other questions? Yeah.
I have a short question. From whom did the idea of independence in 2015 come?
Well, it's always when the Youth Council was originally established by a youth parliamentarian. Actually, he really thought one of the crucial aspects of it was total independence. So it's always been the aim of the Youth Council. It's just that 2015 we have assessed to be a viable deadline for us to achieve full independence.
But by independence you mean like not funded by the state, or
not funded by the city.
But because for me,
under 50%.
You won't be independent because you're gonna be dependent of sponsors. Actually, it's different dependence.
But you'll always, that is true. So when we say independence, we mean independent from the city council.
And from the charity.
And from the charity.
Okay. Children North East.
But you think it's going to be maybe something risky, like firms going to say, okay, we give you
hopefully
money,
we'll
but
get.
you need to do this and this.
Hopefully we'll be able to get enough separate sponsors, so if one drops out then it won't be too much of a problem, and we won't definitely like sell our soul to the sponsors. Yes?
How do you get the youth to participate in Newcastle?
In the Youth Council or generally?
No, it's the council, but you need to involve the youth of your area.
In the Youth Council or in the council?
It is a youth council.
How do
but
you get everyone else's voices?
yeah, how do you let the other youth of Newcastle lift their voices?
Not right, yeah. We had it a little on. We go into schools and talk with them there. There is a plan to hold regular surgeries in our districts of North, East, West and Central so that we can talk to them directly, but also on like website, email, that kind of thing. And as we said, we sort of hold surveys, so it's not directly getting them, but it's contacting as many people as possible so that we can still get so we know what's still happening and then we're not just sort of guessing.
And if there's youth groups that are already set up that myself and Jerry find out about, we let the Youth Council know and they can arrange to go out and speak to the young people directly.
And the structure, do you have your chairperson, blah blah blah, to the?
We have we have meetings we have a full meeting of the whole Youth Council every 2 months. It's been moved to every 1 month now. But and then in between that we have separate committees that meet in between those times and report on their progress at every full meeting. At the full meeting there is a chairperson and a vice chair, but they rotate because we didn't want someone to be in overall charge or anything like that. Although we do have a secretary and a treasurer. The secretary is sort of me, and it is also the person who organises all the coordination basically between the different committees and that kind of thing.
There's spokespeople as well.
And there's spokespeople who talk to the media and various other important things.
Got 2.
4. Any other questions? Thank you. Next country.
Okay. Hello everybody. To those who don't know my name yet, I'm Yannick, and today Alena and me are going to show you a presentation about how the youth get their voice heard in our hometown, which is actually called Neuburg an der Donau. And there you can see a picture of it with our marvelous castle. Yeah, it's huge, yeah? Jealous? Okay, don't worry, I've kept the presentation pretty short because the whole procedure it can be explained very easy and very fast, and there's nothing really hard to understand about it. But if there may occur any questions during the presentation, don't be shy and just ask afterwards. Okay? So let's start. We're going to start with the town council. The town councillors are our democratically elected leaders. And one of those town councillors is also a so-called youth referee. While the youth referee is responsible for the youth parliament, for example, for me, for Alena. And he or she is leading the parliament's meetings, observes all the projects, and gives advice if necessary. There's a picture of our youth referee at the moment. Timothy, you might know her. Yeah. Okay. Next one. The youth parliament always consists of 16 teenagers. If we may have less candidates during the election, the youth parliament won't exist. We must have 16 teenagers. And those 16 teenagers are divided in two different groups. The first group goes from 12 to 16 years of age, and the second group goes from 17 to 21 years of age. Yeah, that's us, yeah. Just hanging around. Every 3 years, the youth of Neuburg elects new members to take part in the youth parliament. And you have to be between 12 and 21 years old, and you have to be a citizen of Neuburg. So you're not allowed to vote when you are from something like a village near Neuburg. You have to be a citizen of Neuburg, and you have to live in that city. Okay? Well, the parliament was founded more than 10 years ago, so it's, I think, a bit older than yours. And since then, we are independent of any political party and acting only in the sense of the youth. So, yeah, but we are funded by the government, so we're just independent when it comes to politics. But back to the main question, how does the youth actually get their voice heard in our town? Well, it's very easy. Go on, yeah. We can explain it pretty easy. The youth parliament meets one time every month, and those meetings are public, so anyone can attend them. You can just watch at the internet on our homepage when the next meeting is, and just join in and check it out. And there teenagers have the possibility to complain, discuss, or just watch what we are actually doing, because not everyone knows it. Yeah, just complain like this guy.
How many people complain?
Huh?
How many people complain?
Not many, I think, because yeah. Well, I think most of the teenagers in our town, or they seem to be confident. I hope it's like that. It's sometimes some teenagers join our meetings and have a problem or a wish or an idea what to do better in our town. But yeah, most of them, not many visit the let's be that good. And if we think that the ideas or the wishes or complaints of the teenagers can be implemented, the youth referee will present them at the next meeting of the town council, and there they are going to discuss whether they're able to act on it or not, or whether they can realize it. Yeah, that's our town council. Yeah, easy. For example, a few months ago, two teenagers have come to our meeting, and they were complaining about the local skater park, which was actually nearly completely broken down, and all the equipment in the skater park was heavily damaged. And then our youth referee went to the meeting of the town council, and she presented that complaint of the teenagers, and after some time we've managed to fix the whole skater park up and to buy new equipment at last. That was just an example. Well, that's it actually. I've told you it's going to be easy. And yeah. Questions? Okay.
Why is it the youth from the villages are not allowed to vote?
That's a good question.
The council.
It's like I wasn't there when people decided that. I think they're just thinking because, well, we are not the only youth parliament in that region, and we have about 3 or 4 other youth parliaments, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know how to tell it.
That's Western.
Huh? No, people just decided like that. I don't know why. I've been, I was 9 years old when they decided it.
I think
yeah.
so, because in our city it's quite the same. I think it's because the money comes actually from the city. So you can't just, it's money from the taxpayers, and you just can't use the money from the taxpayers.
So now, are you with your youth council, you tell the issues of the youth in the villages and in the city, well, in your town, differs. Because if you don't include them in the issues of the youth, that means that you're facing like different issues. So where is the common thing amongst the youth, from either from the villages and from those from the city?
Well, often those people from the villages, they are not like a youth council, but more like a youth council consisting of 3 teenagers or something like that. And they often mind about their own problems, and it's not like, oh yeah, we are doing everything together, and yeah, could be a good suggestion, yeah, for our town council to change that. Huh?
Last question.
Go on.
And the budget, if you get, do you guys get your budget from?
From the government, from the city itself. Yeah.
So now they're excluded on that budget because you guys do things differently. They get their own budget.
Yeah, it's like, for example, if there are villages with about a population of 100 people or 150 people, and they have their own council. They have their own town council or village council, and everyone is using his own money actually. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. More questions?
How many people actually live in your Newcastle?
It's a population of 28,000.
Oh, right, okay.
28,000.
Just if it's
in this town here, 200,000.
About 200,000, I think. About 250,000.
We are close to that.
It's just only 16.
No.
Just if there was only 16 people in your council, but I suppose it's
Okay.
Good job.
Wow. Great, well, thank you very much.
I'm Shalina from South Africa. Sorry for the inconvenience, but I thought that I could use my iPad to do this, or that keynote.
We should apologize because we should have made provisions.
Thank you for
the British.
I thought that this was Europe, so it would work. Our youth council in South Africa, the voice of the youth is actually acknowledged in 2 ways. One is through our youth council, and the other is through public participation. Our youth council in
Tonight.
Yes,
This
is not. This one, number 2. Sorry. Okay. Our youth council was established in 2009, and then we adopted our constitution for our youth council in 2009. Our constitution is available on the internet and our website. If there's anybody that is interested in going through our constitution, I can email it to you. It basically outlines all our the way our structure for the structure for youth council is, the guiding principles, our values, what our functions are, the number of years that one can serve in the youth council. But I'll basically briefly explain it to you. The main objective of our youth council is it serves as the voice for young people, for them to voice out their opinions on things, to bring to the attention of officials within the municipality their concerns, the challenges, things that they need, the opportunities that are out there that they'd like assistance with. The youth council works in collaboration with our municipality. Within our municipality, we have a unit which is called Special Programs. In the Special Programs unit, there's a special facilitator, that is the youth coordinator, that is responsible for attending to the youth council and for implementing any programs, any interventions, opportunities for bursaries, mobilization of youth, social development of youth, poverty alleviation, education programs, bursary programs, and so on. The Youth Council is composed of 55 members. We have an executive committee within this 55 members. The Youth Council is made up of, how we basically have our system is such that we have Newcastle's divided into 5 zonal areas, because in Newcastle we have some rural areas which are also called the townships. So in order for us to get the voices of all the youth from Newcastle, from the urban area to the rural area, we need, what we had to do was to break it up into 5 zonal areas, and within those 5 zonal areas, from each zonal area there's 11 youth representatives. So the youth within those zonal areas communicate whatever problems or challenges, whatever it is that affects youth, they communicate that to those youth representatives, and those youth representatives meet with the executive youth committee, where they discuss all of these issues. The executive youth committee is composed of the chairperson, vice chairperson, treasurer, vice secretary, and a secretary. To serve on the Youth Council, you can serve for a period of 5 years, but for no more than 2 consecutive terms. So every 5 years we have a new election period where there's new members for the Youth Council. The special programs, I've already mentioned that it's the unit within the municipality which is responsible for the coordination and assisting the Youth Council. If there are issues that the youth coordinator and special programs manager and coordinator cannot handle or manage to control or intervene appropriately, then that is taken to further management within the municipality, to municipal officials and councillors, where they intervene and try to correct the situation or assist the youth. So this is basically, I just put a diagram here, it's the youth in 5 different zonal areas. They communicate with the Youth Council representatives, and the Youth Council representatives communicate with the Youth Council Executive Committee, and from there it goes to special programs, and if it cannot be managed at that point, then it goes to further management at the municipality, where municipal officials will intervene. The second method of where the youth voice is heard in Newcastle is via public participation. That is, in Newcastle we have, Newcastle is broken up into 31 wards. Each ward has ward committee members, which is 10 per ward. Of those 10, there's youth representatives over there as well. So each ward the youth can communicate with the youth representatives that serve on the ward committees, and they can communicate to them whatever issues they have, whatever problems, whatever they need help with, whatever assistance. The ward committee members meet on a weekly basis where they discuss things. So like, should you have a problem that's urgent, you can just consult one of the youth representatives that serve on the ward committee. But there's a public meeting that takes place that's facilitated by the ward committee members on a quarterly basis, which is every 3 months. So the entire public is invited over there, and that's where they, for each ward, and that's where they discuss all the issues that they have. And those, whatever's discussed at those meetings are cascaded down to the councillor, to the ward councillors, and the ward councillors take it to the EXCO, the executive committee at the municipality, that's the politicians, they discuss it and then they interact with municipal officials and they intervene and come up with action plans to solve the problems. Our youth council, I know I'm going back now, but I just forgot to mention this. Our youth, the values of our youth council is based on non-sexism, democracy, non-racial racial acts, fairness, gender equality, and equity. Yeah. Yeah, so this is how public participation works. It's the youth representatives from the ward committee, the ward councillor, and the executive committee. Are there any questions?
Can I ask how old you have to be be elected to the youth council?
Youth in South Africa, you're defined as a youth once you turn 14 up until 35 years.
The members of the ward committees, are those the same youths that represent the youth council?
No.
So in essence, each zone has about 21 youth representatives, like 10 for the public participation, then 11 for...
No, it's 11 for the zonal, that's for the youth council, and for the ward committees, that's 31. For ward committees, there's 31 wards, so there's 10 per ward, and of those 10, there's the 10 ward committees, they've broken down into different portfolios. So some of them represent men, some of them represent old age, some of them represent women, disabled, and youth. So it's actually 2 youth on that ward committee, and there's 11 for the zonal youth council.
And how do you decide who are the people on the youth council and who are the people on the wards?
Well, it's done through an election. We have public notices that are put out in all the papers and on the radio station. We also put posters everywhere, and we invite the public to come and attend this, register, and then they nominate. Based on nominations and votes, that's how they're chosen.
Who votes? Is it all people aged 14 to 35, or does everybody vote for the youth?
It's only you that votes.
Right.
It's only you. Any other questions?
And how often are your elections then? Are the ward elections the same time as the zonal elections?
It's sometimes maybe at different months, but it's around the same year. Because ward committee members serve for a period of 5 years, and the youth council serves for 5 years as well.
How? Can I just ask one question? If the 35-year-olds all think one thing because they're 35, they've got children, they've got family responsibilities, they've got jobs, and the young people, they're at school, they haven't got family responsibilities, they haven't got jobs. How do you resolve the differences between people who have a very different way of living to the people, say, who are 14, who have very different interests? Maybe they're at school still, trying to get their exams. How do you
relate to that?
Yeah.
Well, for us, we find that quite simple because our youth council and our the ward representatives, they are all it's all diverse. So we don't have only people that are above 25 or above 20. It's people of all different age groups.
Everything gets every age, doesn't matter what age you are, so it gets considered.
Yeah.
even if you're 14 or 35.
Are you sorted? Okay.
Are there any other questions?
So we're just now gonna also present our youth parliament, how it works, what we do, what's the goal of it, and then we have actually a presentation of kind of a project about spreading about new youth parliaments. But you're gonna get this later. So I'll let Jillian start with the first one.
So I'm Jillian, Christian. I'm going to present you our youth parliament. What's important so we're 20 years this year and we're organizing a ball, so if you come to Switzerland, come to the ball. What's important is that we're not run by politics, even if it's the city that gives us a budget, and we're not associated with school either. By detached places, we mean that if you want to be in the youth parliament, you have to be between 16 and 25. So our objectives are to bring together Newcastle's young people and encourage cultural, professional, political and social integration. And what's important here is that we have to carry out and support real projects for and by young people, and to organize various events that concern youth. You'll see a few of them later. Another objective is to build a permanent dialogue between the citizens and the authorities, the Common Council, the General Council and the administration. The delegates are representing the schools. The number of delegates depends on the size of the school. The youth parties, 2 delegates per parties. The associations, 2 delegates per associations. Sport associations, theatre, and the citizen. There are 10 places for 10 delegates representing the citizens. I'm one of them.
And all are based in Newcastle, in Neuchâtel. All the parties, the schools, associations, citizens.
If you want to represent the citizen, you've got to live in Neuchâtel, and if you want to represent a school, a youth party and stuff like this, they have to be based in Neuchâtel, since we get the money from the city.
That's an interesting incentive between having only people from the city and having people from everywhere, because they come from close to the city, they take active part in city's life.
But they don't live here.
But they don't necessarily live there, so it's quite good.
The organisation. So we've got an assembly. It's all of us. It's run by a committee with a president, a vice president, and a treasurer. They're basically running the sessions. We've got a council group made by adults. Like, we've got one representative from the politics and representative from school and stuff. And we meet, aside from the assemblies, in work groups to make projects. And you see a few of them later. So, in assembly session, we're 96 in our youth parliament, so it's quite a big number. Yeah, we meet once a month, and we're never the 96th there, but we're supposed to be 96, which is quite a big number since we're 34,000 in the city. So
and actually, like 5 years ago when I was first time there, we were like 15 people and active, but now it rotates, so there are 96 people, members, official members, but coming to the sessions between 30 and 40, but it turns every time depending on if they can come or not.
this is the
Council group and committee. Vanya is there. It's an old picture.
And this is where we meet. We've got an office
to work on the project.
So what the city provides us is an office, rooms for plenary sessions. It's never really the same places. We change quite often a budget, a coordinator, which is Venya, administrative support, a page in the city newspaper. We talked about this this morning in the media and stuff. We've got a page and we got an article every 2 months, I think.
Every month. 3 months?
Every 2 months.
Oh, every 2 months. So that's right.
Here are a few of the projects. So you can read one of them. We made a radio. We tried to make a youth car for people to use in the city. Got reductions if they're young. Yeah. And it's mostly about culture and sports. So an example is lighting of sport places and activities for 10 to 16. And this is a party that was created by young people, for young people. It's for people under 18 and there's no alcohol, no smoke.
It's over at midnight. It was like the Centurion, like finished at midnight, I had to go home, no alcohol, no smoke.
Yeah.
But a big party. Organized by them.
Yeah, everyone in the committee and at the ball itself was under 18. This is a radio, the street radio, and you can listen to us on the internet if you want to, because it's a web radio, and you don't have to even shut up to listen to us. We've got a few shows, like Nobody Cares is about like cinema, Polyvox about politics, Ultrasound about local music, and Fellowship it's about like geeky stuff.
Video games.
Video games.
And many more to come,
yeah.
actually.
We just became an association, so it's going to get big. We also organize, it's a bus that takes us skiing, and it's a lot cheaper than what you'd get to go skiing, so it's really
Ski weekend.
Yeah, it's really cool. There are also a lot of exchanges. Like with Neuburg, our parliament have been really close for like 10 years, and we're exchanging like twice a year. We go in Neuburg and they come. So yeah.
And that's Vanya here. Also a long time. Okay, now I take the lead. So actually now we want to really explain that this, for us, this youth parliament is really the voice of the youth in our city. It really works really well. And I'm going to base now on the Children's Rights Convention, where we've been attending to in 2009. In 2009, it was the 20th birthday of the Children's Rights Convention, and we were there. I'm here. Oh, there you are. And we actually really learned about what it was, and we learned that the old ones, like I like to say, have to be attentive to what we have to say, and to our notice and concerns, needs and desire, and to improve our well-being into town, or in general in life. So, Children's Rights Convention is based on the 3 P. We call it 3 Ps Convention. The first one is provision. Have to provide food. Have to provide food, education, housing and care for the children. Protection against abuse, exploitation, child smuggling, drugs, and others. And the third one, which I'm going to concentrate on, is participation, which is really the main point of our youth parliament. It's the right to speak and to be listened to, and even more, I like to say, so adults have to go to the children, because they're not always thinking on their own, okay, I have this to say. So you really have to go more than listen to. The Article 12 of the Convention says children have the right to say what they think should happen when adults are making decisions that affect them, and to have their opinions taken into account in anything that touches them, that are concerning them. That's really something to think about. And then, interesting sentence, an efficient democracy takes its minorities into account. Children are a minority normally. To listen and support our youth is to make an investment for our future. We think that youth parliament is a really good way for our youth to have a choice, to have a voice, and choices too. though it's not the only way. We're not saying that it's the only way for youth to have a voice. But if badly used, like with too much self-interest, too political, no follow-up, and no help, it would just be like we say in French, it's a French expression, translated, it would be like farting in the water.
En français?
Péter dans un pet dans l'eau. That's like, it can be really useless because they're just going on them self-interest.
That's people,
That mean nothing to
French,
do. So, now I take back to 2010, I was Vanya Sari, where is she? There behind. And I were in South Africa for the meeting there, Newcastle's Alliance, Newcastle of the World Alliance. And at the end of the week, the mayors signed a declaration with a mission for each city to accomplish for the 2 years for the next conference. And for the mission for Neuchâtel, as our youth parliament is the oldest one and it's really well functioning, it's moving a lot, was to subject working tools to create a youth parliament in each city taking part in the alliance. All right, that was the mission of the city. So that's why we hope we can also take this back to the older ones, so that we can really get them to think it's important to have a youth parliament for those who don't have one, and for those who have one, even our councillors, always every year to rethink about it, rethink the system. Is it working? What have we done this year? Shall we move something? Shall we go on? Shall we stop? And so on. Really rethink every year. Youth are active. Youth change every year, so we have also to be changing every year. Now, create the youth parliament. Why? So, for whom? First, it's for the authorities. It could seem funny to say first the authorities, but actually having a youth parliament is having your youth taking responsibilities, moving for your city, taking charge of problems that the youth have, and maybe the older ones don't really know how to handle them, don't really know how to do, or they think they know, but often they don't, or it doesn't work. That's why it's really important for authorities, and also they have some people to talk to when they want to understand something that the youth do or the youth want. That's really important. Then for the youth, yeah, sure, because it makes their life better. If it works, it's beautiful projects, they can express themselves. And finally for the city, it can bring a lot of, really you read the book and you know how to do a youth parliament. That would be the goal in more general and legal, like for the whole world in English, would be edition of a book. And the third one is to send representatives in each city, like each city could send to each other city, or the one they want to go to, representatives, so that they can see how it works. And also, like if our youth parliament could be sent there, we could also see how it works there, maybe take ideas, but also say, as we have more experience, we've tried this before, it doesn't work, better change now before you just fall and it doesn't work. We can exchange between youth, and this would be also cheaper, because if each, like when we are here, we're welcomed, and the price of the hotel and the price of the food is not the price we would pay as tourists. So if we just do exchanges in that way, we welcome people to our homes and stuff. It's not that expensive apart from the transportation when we come and back. It's a lot cheaper than tourism. But that's not all of the ideas. So I don't know if you have other ideas about that, as most of you are part of youth parliaments, apart from Chinchiro. I don't know if you would have directly now, or you want maybe to think about it. What could we do to motivate city councils, politics in all the Newcastles of the world to have a youth parliament? Because I think you all agree that it's really a quite good mean, yeah. Okay.
I think the website idea would work better, and then we'll have links with all the countries that are represented by all the Newcastles of the world.
Exactly. And what's also amazing is that if we start having a really strong founded youth parliament in all of Newcastle, then you can inspire, as every youth in his town inspire other youth. Every town in his town, in his country, would inspire other towns. If each Newcastle have a strong youth parliament working, then the towns around will look at this and want to do the same. And then everywhere the youth voice is going to raise, and that's why maybe it's also great. Other ideas? About this, I don't know, because we just thought about this. Sam K?
Sorry, Kay. Another thing that I think we should be looking at is what do we do in between the years of meetings? Like between 2010 and now, what did you guys do who were in South Africa? Like to keep in contact, like constant in contact with other youth of Newcastle?
Yeah. That would be maybe the third ideas we have, because like for Noble, usually they come once a year, we go once a year there. But actually 6 hours of car, so it's not.
No. Like the administration, maybe you would exchange or send or like discuss things, not necessarily meeting, but we'll like exchange, like have like maybe
like creating a forum on the internet.
On the forum, on the website, you would have a forum.
And then maybe like we use like things like Skype or conference, whatever,
Exactly.
to communicate if.
There will be
or
things.
just even good news stories of something you managed to achieve something really good in, you know, in Switzerland, you can share it with South Africa.
Yeah. That would be the goal of the website, exactly. A lively website, everyone puts his new projects, what has been done, what they want to do, and exchange canvas of working tools and stuff.
Maybe we could have like action plans with like targets of what we want to achieve, and give us time frame by when we'd like to achieve those things, and all the different youth councils report back on what they've done, send photographs, upload it to put there, so that we don't have to wait for 2 years to report back. It can be done constantly, and wherever perhaps maybe Newcastle, South Africa is encountering some problems, another Newcastle can intervene and probably advise us on wherever it is that we are not able to achieve what we want to.
It's a good idea. With all of this, if I understand well, could be done on the website. Now the question I had is that who does the website? I think we cannot do it on distance. So at the start, to found it, to make it, to do the design, put the pages, everything on it. So I don't know. I actually don't know who can do this. Facebook.
I don't think Facebook.
Facebook is not a good solution because we don't own it, we have no power on it, they can change anything at any time, and they do what they want with what we do. It's also, it's a side working too, you can use it with, like you have the lights.
You can make like groups. I'm on loads of like little groups of like young people that I'm involved with, so if you have, it's private to use a group, and you can
He's defended this.
There is a new social networking site called Ning, where you have completely closed groups, and they're not. It is owned by somebody else. I really take your point.
Yeah.
But you can have a completely closed group. It doesn't have to be public, so you can do organisation beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And just to come back to your other point about who would do websites, is it possible that each country could nominate a couple of representatives to take that work forward? It might, for Japan, maybe they have more work to do, but maybe couldn't some of the adults in their city perhaps put some money forward so they can...
The problem is, like, I don't think it's really possible. It's really hard to make, like, it's going to take a lot of time to take, like, all together from different cities to make the websites. Afterwards, the goal would be that in each city, there are representatives from the youth parliament who are responsible to add things on the websites, go on the forum, and it will be also open for anyone. But at the start, it needs a commission who can meet physically, I think, because it needs to be done quickly.
Yeah, I think one Newcastle should take it forward.
That's the goal, and that's what I want to put forward also in front of the...
Yeah, I think we can propose that as a collective, to the collective, and then we can ask them to, or we can decide, or one of us can, but I mean, it'll cost money.
We need a city or someone who says,
why
okay,
do you
I'm
need
taking this.
a lone website? Can you not go with, what was it called, Ning or?
Ning.
Ning. So like, it might be hosted by another website, but it has the same functionality of being able to have a conversation, a dialogue, rather than having to spend money on designing a website.
Yeah, but it's not as long as it is, because when you have no own website with own name, you can advertise a lot.
Rolf, you know Rolf, we're gonna ask him the better solution to, because he owns the IT company. like an internet company.
It's got a wide knowledge about this.
It's got like a great knowledge.
So we can go and do some research and maybe come and talk about it another time.
Yeah, but what the thing would be that 2 years ago they took the decision that in 2 years, so now we would have found a way to spread the Newcastle thing, so the youth parliament thing. So, but we didn't want to do it on our own and like come here and say, okay, we have a website ready and just start it. So that's why I wanted to present it. But I think at the point we need to choose someone, so a city, which has to do it before next time. It has to run before next time. But that's to present from the open.
Sorry.
Can we check with Ralph?
Yeah, sure. Then let's all check and have an idea for Thursday. I think it will be the best.
And I think we can check in Newcastle, probably in Japan, probably Switzerland, Germany, can all check in their own cities. We have each other's email addresses, so what we can do is we can take it back to our own youth councils, maybe different in Japan, maybe we want Shinshiro Mayor to set up a youth council in Japan, so they have their own website and their own knowledge to do that. But I think it can work like that as long as there's the commitment from everybody wanting that site, Timothy.
I agree, because one of you guys is doing computer science, right? Is it doing computer science? Surely you can help.
Just do it.
I mean, it's not a work of a person. That's the problem. It has to be someone who can meet physically, and they have to make a commission and work about it. It doesn't mean that they don't relate to other ones, like with Skype or forums and stuff. But we cannot just work from
someone to take the lead on it.
But we need to discuss
decisions and
now or soon, before everyone goes away, what people want from this system, what they want it to be, because otherwise someone will go away and create something, and then someone will say that's not what we want. So you've got to say, is it going to be like a public? Well, you've got to ask.
Yeah.
Would there be an opportunity before the presentation on Thursday to have a discussion like this?
Can we? Yeah, I'm just thinking everybody's on trips tomorrow, but on Thursday morning, is there any chance we can have a meeting before the session at 11 o'clock? So maybe we come here at 9:30 on Thursday morning, maybe meet in the foyer there to discuss.
What do we have normally? What's the program normally?
Just to discuss some ideas about how to take this forward, because I think it's a good. You've obviously come up with what
we're supposed to do instead. At 9.
What's the normal program? The program.
Oh yes, I know, but our youth thing doesn't begin till 11 on Thursday morning.
So nothing is happening on Thursday.
So nothing is happening.
No, you should want to come here, Shanahan, and do work.
Because it's a really good idea that you've got, and I think we can Skype conference. And certainly there's people willing to push things forward.
Just to save time as well, can't we discuss it on our own groups and then we come up with the best ideas and then we just bring them together?
The thing would be to have a representative in each thing, because we cannot talk like 40 people. So let's talk in each delegation tomorrow when you want. And each city can have a representative. And then we can, we'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll be 5 people, and let's talk these 5 here. You guys do this, alright?
Okay, then let's meet at 9:30 on Thursday morning. Okay.
Yeah, why not?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
And then, so we do that.
We'll talk with him afterwards.
Last thing, have you got any questions?
No.
No.
Have a conclusion, please. I just have conclusion to conclude. Yeah, that's good. I read it because I love this text. A youth parliament is a very efficient and interesting means to apply this Children's Rights Convention, 12th article. Moreover, we don't speak only about children, but also about youth between 12 and 25 years old, because that's normally called as youth. Which fact is to be taken into account when judging the level of maturity. That's also written in the Constitution, in the Convention, that you have to take the level of maturity into account. You cannot give the same level of maturity to someone who's 30 than someone who's 10 years old. of a young parliamentarian. Some of them are already voters, elected officials, very active, life-interested people, paying taxes and taking part in the economic life and social life of the country. In our youth parliament, we have people who already are representatives in the villages and stuff. All of this simply leads to a sentence which was assigned to Nelson Mandela. If you don't care about the youth, you don't care about the future. That's quite easy and quite clear, I think. So I would say, that's my personal sentence, give youth a voice, trust them on the fact that they understand the current problems and that they have ideas how to solve them. Youth is an endless source of energy. If we give them responsibilities and if we integrate them into decisions, this energy will be used in a participation effort and no more in lack of interest. Okay? That's just to put a bit of self-confidence in youth. We are able, we can do things. Okay? I think that's it. That's it.